Presented from the Aishin Broadcast Studio at Babcock's Media.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Business Casual from Aftermarket News. I'm Emma Henderson, the managing editor of Aftermarket News, and with me today is Sue Ratkewicz. She is an ADAS technical trainer with AUTEL. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me here today, Emma.
Of course, and I think when people hear ADAS, they think it's a hot topic in the aftermarket right now. It's something that obviously we are seeing a lot of and will continue to see a lot more of in years to come with the way that car technology is developing. So I'm very excited to have you. One of the things you really wanted to talk about was ADAS and alignment. So I'm curious a little bit about the risk of not keeping up. So will everyone need to have these ADAS tools soon?
Well, again, that is going to all depend on what the manufacturer states, of course, but ADAS and alignment do go hand in hand. At AUTEL, we have two separate tools that we've currently have out now that are designed to allow you to perform alignments and then follow through directly with your ADAS calibrations right afterward. Because again, many manufacturers state that after you make certain adjustments to the vehicle and how the car tracks down the road, resetting steering angle sensors affects those forward-facing ADAS modules on the vehicle.
And so how important is it to have just the understanding that a vehicle needs to be aligned, but also needs to have everything calibrated?
So those two items of the vehicle go hand in hand. The ultimate idea, of course, is to return the vehicle to the way that the manufacturer designed it, which would be everything working in unison. So if you make one adjustment on a vehicle, then making other calibrations or other adjustments are required as well. So the importance is extremely high, if I could say that we make sure that we are doing both features hand in hand with each other.
And I think, we're talking to the larger automotive aftermarket. So not just people who are in shops, but also people who are actively developing products, distributing products throughout our industry. And so I'm curious, you as a trainer have the opportunity to really be hands-on and working with the people who need this the most. So what would you say that people in a shop would want people maybe in offices of aftermarket companies to know about what they're doing and what would be helpful?
With my background that I have, we're going to talk about that here in a little bit, but ultimately educating the customer is one of the biggest things that I see is something that a lot of shops are having difficulty with, because the shop owner or the technician understands that we are required to do certain repairs on the vehicle or calibrations, alignments, all of the above, but the customer doesn't always want to accept those responsibilities or pay for those calibrations and other features that are done on the car. So the biggest thing that I've seen is, educating the customer. How do we let the customer know this is something that is required and that it is vital to keeping the vehicle running and operating properly? Because if it's not, that could lead to a whole nother slew of problems there.
So I'm curious, how can aftermarket companies make themselves more ADAS friendly?
I love the term ADAS friendly. That was a good way of wording that. With our AUTEL tools, we have a couple of products, the IA900, the IA1000, like I kind of mentioned a few moments ago. Those two products that we have out in the aftermarket right now are allowing the shops to be able to perform multiple functionalities with one tool. You can perform alignments, you can perform pre and post scan on the vehicle, you can be able to perform ADAS calibrations after the alignment, of course, any other steering angle resets as well. And what makes it great using the AUTEL tool is that, again, it's all with one workflow. I don't have to move from one product to another. ADAS friendly is a great way. I mean, of course, ADAS calibrations require a certain amount of space. So, I hate to say, everybody go out and buy a brand new shop. Of course, that's not always feasible to have enough space. But again, utilizing what space you have, being able to use the tool to make it as not necessarily as simple, but as easy and as streamlined as possible for the technicians. So again, they can in turn show the customer what was done on the vehicle and have it done in a timely manner as well.
Obviously, dealerships have this type of technology as well. So, what would you say is the benefit of people actually using aftermarket ADAS technology like AUTEL and what you train people on every day?
My main answer to that would be the amount of coverage. Of course, if you're using a manufacturer software, you're limited to working on that particular brand of vehicle, as where AUTEL has coverage for just about every vehicle on the aftermarket or in the world out there of vehicles right now. So again, with one tool, you have coverage for a multitude of vehicles. You're not limited like a dealership tool or a manufacturer's tool would be.
So that's a big selling point, especially for the shops and the people who are looking at being able to do the most with one tool because they have more opportunities to actually help their customers and, like you mentioned, educate them on why this needs to be done in the first place.
Absolutely.
All right. So one thing you really expressed that you wanted to talk about was some misconceptions about ADAS. So I'm curious what you have to say.
My biggest thing that I've seen, Emma, in the industry of calibration is my tablet screen says it was successful, so that means it was done properly. And that's a big misconception because following the instructions per the manufacturer, which AUTEL arranges our instructions from the manufacturers, is very vital and important to making sure that that vehicle is calibrated properly. If it's off by just a little bit or something is not, sighted in or calibrated down to the exact millimeter or hundredth of a degree, that could lead to further problems as to where that sensor is sighted in and when the customer is driving down the road. So I have a lot of people that have told me, I'll move things around until it passes. And then as their trainer, I come in and tell them, oh no, that's not the way it needs to be done. We need to follow those instructions from the manufacturer of the vehicle.
So it sounds like investment in training is incredibly important with these tools. How do you think aftermarket companies could benefit from investing in training in general, just to make sure that all car parts or equipment being used for vehicles is being used appropriately? And, there's just so much new tech coming out, it seems like, every day.
We are in an advanced technology industry for sure, a world of everything that we're using, and we have there, of course. But training is extremely important because, like you just said, these products and these tools are changing, just as our vehicles are changing. Not necessarily every day, but every year when new products come out. I've been in the industry now for right at 4 years, and from when I started in 2021 to now, some of the things that I learned and that I was doing in 21 are almost outdated. Not everything, of course, just like anything, but it's about, training on the newest products. And again, making sure you're staying up to date with that, whether that is virtual meetings, whether that is, doing your own research, whether it's having in-person training. AUTEL also offers academy classes where you can come and do 2-day courses at multiple locations through the country where we focus on certain topics. But again, it's in any industry, whether it's vehicles, whether it's medical, anything else, it's staying up to date with that technology, and that involves training.
Presented from the Aishin Broadcast Studio at Babcox Media.
It just feels like everything is moving so fast now when it comes to changes in technology and upgrades and things like that, which is great because it helps keep vehicles working. It helps keeping them moving. Vehicles are getting older that are staying on the road now. So how valuable is it for tools like an academy or like even a YouTube video where they might be in the middle of an alignment or another various activity and be like, oh, I want to double check and make sure I'm doing this correctly?
Oh, any type of research is extremely important. Of course, you have to know the credibility of that source. I found this on YouTube is very different than reading the vehicle's service information. Again, checking the credibility of that source. And we all use technology, right? We use our phones, we use our computers, as I'm from my home office right now, and we're able to communicate. And again, just like you kind of said, being able to use those tools that you have to the advantage of the technician, to the developer of the product, to the trainer. I've used those tools myself when trying to figure things out, or again, help customers solve problems that we run into in the field. Let's use what we have for sure.
So giving people easy access to answers seems to sound like the true key to making sure everything is being done properly.
Everybody wants life to be easier, right? Let's make life easier, right? With no matter what it is. But yes, and I do know on the AUTEL tool and our AUTEL website, we have plenty of, tech tips, and we have a lot of information, especially regarding ADAS. And I'm sure the other parts of the other products through AUTEL do as well. I stick to my lane, stay with my ADAS, and do a lot of research on that, of course. But I know that we want to help educate our customer, who then in turn will educate the operator of the vehicle for sure.
Absolutely. And speaking of educating, it's a pretty good segue to what we're going to talk about next. So you have a unique story for coming into the aftermarket. This is not necessarily where you saw yourself, but here you are now and you're loving it. So explain how your background set you up for success in the role you're in now.
Everybody always kind of says, how long have you been doing this? And what did you do before? And for the first 12 years of my career, I was an elementary school teacher. I taught at a private school, and I taught quite a few different grade levels, fourth grade all the way through middle school. And, being able to prepare lessons, being on my toes, ready for anything, and being able to explain things to any level, whether it's children or adults, is something that I'm very passionate about. Of course, I found my way into the aftermarket and the ADAS world. And, it's even today, just generally talking to friends and family and people that I meet, people don't know what ADAS is. What are these systems you're talking about? And I love talking about this. And again, I think that having my background in education, for sure, I've experienced a lot of different things, good and bad, and everywhere in between. And that's what being a trainer is that you're running into different things in the field and things you weren't expecting. I remember when I first started in the industry, I was talking to my mom, and I said, I think I wasted 12 years of my life as a teacher. I love this now, and I get to, travel, I get to meet new people, and I'm learning so much about the technology of these vehicles. And she said, no, you didn't. Of course, anything that we've done in our past sets us up to where we are. And like you said, I never thought, if you would have asked me when I graduated college, do you see yourself in 15 years traveling the country and getting to learn and work on vehicles and, meet new people? And the answer would have 100% been no. This is not where I saw myself, but I'm very thankful for where I am. And, having my background, utilizing those tools, or utilizing that skill set that I've had, has definitely helped me in the world. People have said, I explain things very, very well, which I take the compliment with humbly. And it's great to be able to use any experiences that we have in any industry to be able to help with what you're doing now.
And I know you say it was 12 years doing that. How important, so obviously when you're doing elementary school, following simple instructions and explaining simple instructions is incredibly important. How does that transfer over to when you're helping people use new technology? Because I imagine for some people when they start, it can feel incredibly overwhelming.
I was one of those people, yes, when I, came from, teaching states and capitals and math facts to understanding these systems and how they, work. And then, of course, explaining that to the customer. Or the person that I'm training. So like you had mentioned, the simple instructions, I bring that up in every training that I perform, that I teach or conduct. Is the AUTEL tool especially provides very easy workflow instructions, walking you through step by step when to do things. It can get overwhelming, the first time you do anything. Here, put this IKEA furniture together. It can be overwhelming. If you break those steps down one at a time, follow those directions, don't skip steps, that will lead you to an accurate and successful ADAS calibration.
So it's really making sure that people have access to the instructions and then actually follow through with them.
100%. That's kind of what I was getting with earlier with the misconceptions that, oh, I'll move this equipment around until the calibration passes. Please don't do that. That might help diagnose what is wrong with the vehicle, but that is not going to be having those sensors sighted in properly and keeping the user of the vehicle safe on the road, or other people as well.
Absolutely. So there's a tradition that we are starting on this podcast, and I actually really
Okay.
love it because we've had some unique perspectives, and everyone's story is so different that the answers, I don't think I've ever gotten the same one so far. And that is, what is your aftermarket 3? What are 3 defining moments or events or realizations that you've had since you've been in the aftermarket that keep you around, that keep things interesting?
You prepared me for this question, and it's still extremely hard to answer, just so you know. Picking 3 moments, 3 events, 3 people, 3 things. I've been thinking about it all night, probably why I'm a little sleep deprived now. But, I'd definitely have to say, no order here at all, but one of the things that I am, extremely, it's all about being thankful in what I do. And the opportunity to travel has been one of my awesome parts of my job, of course, getting to see things. As an elementary school teacher, teaching about the states and capitals, I never thought I would get to visit a large number of these states. So that has been, I'm thankful for the travel. And of course, in travel, I'm seeing beautiful sights, going to different shops, meeting people. That's, all grouped in there. It sounds like a generic answer, but just the ability to travel has been awesome. I can't name one person. It's very hard to name one person, my number 2, but all of the people who have seen potential in me and taken a chance, because again, starting in the aftermarket, I was with a different company, and the people who thought, wow, she has a good, head on her shoulders. She can be able to explain these systems. And I'm tear up here, not really, but I'm very thankful for all of those people, at that other company, and then with AUTEL, who saw the potential in me and have, put me up to the challenges that are out there. And I'm, so the people who brought me where I am, number 2. And probably number 3 would be the honor that I received just last month, or this past month here, with the Women at the Wheel. I know, Emma, you and I talked about that, being part of the class there, that I got an honor. I got nominated and accepted. So that was like very proud. I got my magazines back here. I'm going to be putting them in a frame here. I'm excited for that. So that made me just, happy to be accepted. And, so those 3, it's very hard to narrow down 3 moments or 3 things, but I say travel, the people who saw the faith in me, and then of course the honor recently that I've received. So thank you for that as well.
Hopefully that recognition makes it feel like, oh, these people were right. They saw something in me, and you're doing it. So I love reading through the profiles of every year's winners, because you weren't just nominated, you won. You are a Woman at the Wheel for 2025. And I loved reading through your profile and the things that you had to say. It's probably my favorite issue to work on, because you really get to learn the scope of all of the incredible people who work in this industry. And so we're so excited to have you on as a guest.
Well, thank you again for having me today, and hopefully that helped resolve a couple things and talk about ADAS. I could talk about ADAS systems all day. I won't keep you guys all day with that, but I love what I do, and I'm thankful for being a part of your podcast and working with AUTEL and all of the wonderful people out there who are calibrating cars.
Absolutely. Well, you're doing important work. People don't realize sometimes until things go wrong how important something is. And I think that's true with ADAS. So thank you for not only helping train people in this industry, but in general, keeping people safe.
Yeah, I got to do what I got to do, I guess.
Absolutely. Well, it's been great having you on. Thank you so much for joining us. And thank you to everyone who is watching.
Thank you.